Welcome to Chapter 3. You remember Chapter 2 classified the socio-economic science approaches according to their epistemologies. The question is, which of the three epistemologies produces better social results? Chapter 3 of the thesis performs three statistical analyses: linear correlation, polynomial, quadratic, regression, and data mining, associating 118 cultural values related to the three epistemologies in 60 countries, extracted from the World Values Survey, with 6 social outcomes: wealth, human development, economic freedom, corruption, knowledge, and happiness. The statistical analysis show that the empirical and subjective idealistic cultural values have positive and negative correlations with the social results. You can see that here. You see negative correlations related to empiricism and subjective idealism. But it is very striking that the negative ones far outweigh the positive ones, 94 versus 26. 54 versus 16. You see the negative outweighed the positives. Realism, on the other hand, has a very clear prevalence of positive correlations over negative correlations. You might like to know how this statistical analysis was developed. First, the criteria that the thesis used to classify cultural values as empiricist consider their connection to utilitarian ethics, classical and neoclassical economics, and the shareholder corporate social responsibility. Remember, these are the three socioeconomic sciences that we considered. In this regard, values that reflect a quest for individualism, utility, maximization of pleasure, the use of power, economic freedom, economic success were classified as empiricists. These values reflect the need for power to survive and succeed in a society with no rights or justice. They are the result of a subjective idealism, or values or lack of values, a society with no realism. So values are related to realism. So the importance of personal success, personal economic progress, political power, military power, and eventually the need to rely on strategies to achieve them, such as dishonesty. To provide a sample of the results of the linear correlation analysis, the table shows that the 5 cultural values with the highest correlations at the top of the table, that you see that the color is green. The more green it means the higher the correlation, and the 5 with the lowest correlation, they are in red. You see that the more intense the red, it means the lowest correlation. Okay, the yellow ones are the ones that have a correlation close to 0. The criteria that the thesis used to classify cultural values are as subjective idealist considers their connection to the views of Kant and Hegel, the ethics of rights and justice, a collectivist political economy, and normative corporate social responsibility. Once again, we continue with the 3 socioeconomic sciences. Such values reflect a quest for collectivism, universalization, democratic institutions, a central role of the state, human rights and justice, equality, non-discrimination, freedom, the rule of law, pluralism, striving to build an ideal, perfect world. You can check on your own the results of the correlations in the case of idealist cultural values. So you see here the values, you see here the ones that have a positive correlation and the values from this survey that have negative correlation. The criteria that the thesis uses to classify cultural values as realist considers the relevance of better knowledge creation, a quest for wisdom, not just based on sensitive information or rationality as empiricism and subjective idealism. In Chapter 6, we will study this in detail. It considers the impact of a realist phenomenology, which we are going to study this in Chapter 7, dimensions as consciousness, human relations, personal and community values, the value of each person and the community, the value of life, of the family, spiritual values, greatness, trust. It considers the impact of a realist metaphysics that we are going to study in Chapter 8, such as transcendence, participation with the superior being, a social mission and vision, entrepreneurship, building a better world. It considers the impact of a religious dimension, especially a personal relationship with the Creator and its impact on the daily life. The connection to the Golden Rule. It considers the impact of discernment. It considers the impact of spirituality in the healing and transformation of individuals and communities. These realist dimensions build social leadership on the individual and the community. This is the core of the realism, which fosters realist ethics of values, virtues, and social ethics. It fosters a political economy which empowers economic growth and social justice, subsidiarity and solidarity based on human and social capital, as well as institutions. It fosters business success based on intellectual capital, knowledge, and relationships, unique resources. Here you can check on your own, have the realist values, cultural values here, and the ones that have a positive and the ones that have negative correlations. Now is the time to do your experiential learning. Reading statistics can be too abstract for many. If you want to convince yourself and even criticize these statistics, you can go to the thesis that I gave you the link to download it in juanpaulostegman.com. Go to the point 3.2, regression analysis of the thesis, and visualize there are 40 pages with graphs and tables of the regression analysis, with associations among the 3 epistemologies and the 6 social outcomes, which can provide you the data and visual evidence so you can confirm or not the intuitions of this chapter. What are the conclusions of this chapter? The conclusions are extremely important because this chapter leads to 2 very important conclusions. The first one is that to create knowledge, realism may be the epistemology with the best social impact. Remember that this is statistics, so it cannot give you an explanation. It only indicates you that there is some association between the input and the outputs. The second conclusion is to make decisions. Critical thinking may not be the best methodology because critical thinking relies on empiricism and subjective idealism, the 2 epistemologies with the poorest impact on social outcomes. As you can see, we begin to respond to the 2 problems that we raised in Chapter 1. Regarding the first problem of Chapter 1, this chapter shows that critical thinking, the backbone of modern strategic management, relies on 2 epistemologies, empiricism and subjective idealism, that yield positive and negative social outcomes, which may explain the social consequences of modern strategic management that we saw in Chapter 1. Regarding the second problem of Chapter 1, the statistical analysis suggests that the conceptual model of Chapter 2, remember that classifies the socio-economic science approaches based on their epistemologies, may provide some rationale to solve the chaotic mosaic of modern socio-economic sciences of Chapter 1, as the 3 epistemologies may produce different social outcomes. Thank you.